to order. Ms. Riggs, would you please lead us in the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, oral communication. You can speak on any item that's not on the printed agenda. We're going to try to do it at 2 minutes today, so please come forward if you wish to speak.
Hi, I'm Debbie Batista. I'm the Register of Voters, as most people hopefully know. And today is Election Day, and I hope everybody knows that. The polls have been open for 2 hours now. Just to give you some insight, we have already received over 50% of the voters who vote by mail. We had their ballots here yesterday, which means already 42% of the citizens of Tuolumne have voiced their opinion and let it be heard via the vote. So if you haven't voted, go out today. If you're not quite sure where your polling place is, you can call the office, 533-5570, and they'll tell you where your polling place is. Or you can come down to 2 South Green Street. We are an early voting polling place, and you will get your correct ballot. So at 8 o'clock tonight, we will close the polls and we will have our first report hopefully by 8:15, and we'll rock and roll until we're all done and all 73 polling places have reported and the Secretary of State dismisses me and lets me go home. So get out and vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go take a nap.
Is it in the cars?
Good morning, everyone. Before I begin, I just want to wish all of you whose campaigns are ending today good luck and best of luck to you who are leaving. I wanted to take a minute to talk about a couple of things. We have a gala coming up in about 2 weeks, and I thought I'd bring a poster to each of you and encourage you to come. It's pop art, Andy Warhol themed, costume encouraged but not required. The Risky Biscuits will be playing. It's going to be a great time, really good food. Black Oak is doing a featured menu of pop art inspired food and pop art drinks. It's going to be a really, really nice time, and it's a good way for us to start raising some more money. On top of that, I just want to remind you as we come to the end of the year that one of the things that you need to be considering is that the seed money that we get from the county is only given, we can only get grants because of that seed money, so we can't apply for grants either. So that is something I want to just remind you once more. But I hope everyone has a good day today. I hope everyone voted already. And thank you again so much for giving me some time.
Thank you.
I also want to just highlight that Randy did in fact donate those 3 pieces of art. Thank you, Randy.
It's a privilege, and thank you, Mr. Rodefer, for suggesting it.
The impetus, yes. You're more than welcome.
Good morning. I'm Andrew Murphy with your fire department here in Tuolumne County. I just want to let the board know and the citizens know that on Saturday, November 11th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., they're going to see your local firefighters near the Junction Shopping Center doing their annual MDA Fill the Boot. MDA and the International Association of Firefighters and firefighters from around the country have joined together to help the MDA fight muscular dystrophy. Just in the last 6 years, just here in Tuolumne County, the public has donated over $54,000 to help that cause. I just wanted to let everybody know.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman Gray and members of the board. I'm Katie Kirkland, Communications and Tourism Manager for the Tuolumne County Visitors Bureau. I'm here this morning to share some fun, exciting news with you. So in our past presentations, you've heard me talk about our partnership with Black Diamond, which is our marketing and public relations firm in the UK, and how we've hosted a lot of journalists. Well, we finally got one result from that, and we have a huge publication in the Evening Standard magazine, a full page. The Evening Standard is the most respected insert into the newspaper, and they also released, so their print circulation has 857,000. And they also released this online, and their online viewers have over 18 million unique monthly visitors. It was picked up on both MSN, which is 223,000 unique monthly visitors, and Yahoo, which is over 32 million unique monthly visitors. So the circulation is really great. It covers everywhere from Tweenheart to Sonora to Jamestown, all the way up into Yosemite. So I just wanted to share this with you guys. This is yours to keep. There's plenty more of articles to be coming out. Black Diamond does a really great job of kind of distributing them out, and so they don't all come at one time. So this journalist visited back in June, and this was released in October, so kind of perfect timing for us. So this is yours to keep and read and share. Thank you.
Great job. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Randy Henvelt, supporter of the Columbia College Community Chorus. This is your early warning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. You have been delinquent on previous performances. November 30th, 7:30 at the Opera Hall, December 1st and December 2nd, Saturday and Sunday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Sounds of the Season were presented by the Columbia College Community Chorus under the direction of the remarkable Daryl Hollinger. You need to get tickets, and I'm inviting the public as well, but you guys are particularly delinquent, so you need the early warning. I'll bring you posters next time.
So you're going to give us your cell phone number so we have everybody call you for tickets, or how do you want to?
No, but I'll give you my bride's cell phone number.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Since in a way we're celebrating today. Today is Election Day, and I do hope everybody votes. But 19 years ago today, Joe Taylor elected Carl Rodever her husband. And I just want everybody to know in the county how blessed I am and how blessed I think the county is to have her here in Tuolumne County. And Joe, I love you, dear. Bye.
Good job, Carl. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I suggest a proclamation by the board might be in order for patience, tolerance, and long-suffering. Joe Rodefer.
Yes, she does deserve some sort of award, obviously. Okay, anyone else? Seeing no one, will the clerk please read the consent calendar?
Minutes of the meeting held on October 16th and 26th, 2018. Approving the amendment to Conflict of Interest Code for the Tuolumne County Superintendent of Schools Office. Adopting a resolution continuing the local state of emergency as required by the California Emergency Services Act, Article 14, Section 8630C, due to pervasive tree mortality. Adopting a resolution to accept the offer of dedication of a public road and public utility easement along Evergreen Road and accepting the public road easement for maintenance and inclusion into the county-maintained road system. Adopting a resolution to designate and authorize the County Resource Agency Director and or her designee, to review, comment on, and take all related actions pertaining to less than 3-acre conversion exemption applications submitted by CAL FIRE. And adopting a resolution accepting the claim for excess proceeds from tax defaulted property sales and authorizing the distribution of excess proceeds from the sales.
Board wish to pull anything? Any public comment on the consent calendar? Right, looking for a motion.
I'll move on consent calendar.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Brennan, second by Supervisor Hanvelt. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Passes 5-0. Thank you. Number 7, please.
This is a presentation of County Service Award to Lisa Fletcher from the Human Services Agency.
Good morning, Chairman Gray, members of the board, Ann Connolly, Human Services Agency Director. And I love being here for these types of presentations. I'm here to celebrate, along with the Human Services staff, Lisa Fletcher, congratulating her on 20 years as a member of the Department of Social Services. Lisa's here, and I wanted to just say a few things about her. In November 1998, Lisa came aboard as an eligibility worker at the Tuolumne County Department of Social Services. And as an eligibility worker 1, she was responsible for determining eligibility for our various public assistance programs. 1 year later, she was promoted to an eligibility worker 2, and then 2 short years later, in February, after she demonstrated excellence in program knowledge and working with the public, she was the logical choice to be promoted to a lead worker and eligibility worker 3. Because she is a leader and she demonstrated competency in her role, she was promoted to an eligibility worker supervisor in September of 2012. So since September 2012, Lisa has held key roles during very unprecedented changes in the Department of Social Services. As an example, in 2014, there were dramatic healthcare changes under the Affordable Care Act. Lisa was chosen as the trainer to ensure that every single eligibility worker met the proper certification to be able to use our statewide healthcare system. She also continues to represent 35 counties as a member of the County Medical Services Program Committee. And I remember because I was there, Lisa represented that committee in front of a statewide convening to talk about strategic planning for county medical services, because now with Affordable Care Act, some things have changed. And during that statewide public hearing, she was very eloquent and very professional in the way she represented Tuolumne County, and I really salute her for that. She's been a beacon in really fostering great relationships with the medical community. I don't know, I hope none of you have ever had to apply for long-term care Medi-Cal, but if you have, Lisa is the go-to person and the expert in this field. So our long-term care facilities and our local hospital really count on her expertise. She is seen as someone who provides exceptional customer service and can answer any question. I always say, if Lisa doesn't know the answer, the regulation doesn't exist. So besides all of her responsibilities to customers, to staff, to her coworkers, community members, Lisa takes personal time and volunteers with the Call a Day program, and she calls vulnerable members of the community on a daily basis, taking turns doing that to ensure people are safe in their homes. And one of her claims to fame is, about a couple of years ago, she wrote a DSS social services version of the 12 Days of Christmas, and it was such a delight. We all enjoyed it so much, but we are very fortunate that Lisa has kept her day job. I just can't thank you enough, Lisa, for being part of our social services management team. For 20 years, she's been a leader and a mentor to social services staff. She's demonstrated her dedication and commitment to serving community members in need, and she has a laser focus on customer service. Please join me, along with the HSA staff, in congratulating Lisa on 20 years with the county.
Yes, I like to have the pictures. I know where they stand today. They're awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I just want to say that I am very honored and also very thankful to be able to live in such a wonderful community and also serve. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any public comment?
Mr.
Thank
Chairman?
you.
Lisa, before you leave, it's not often you get a public performance appraisal, but I think you just got one. And so I just can't let it go without saying my personal thanks for being the indispensable woman over there and for the fine job you do. 20 years is a long dedication, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, will the clerk please read item 7A.
Consideration of adopting a certificate of recognition to Linda Clark and Sheila Wilkinson for the downtown Sonora field trip coordinator efforts.
Morning, Daniel Richardson from the County Administrator's Office. Recently, I looked out my window into the courthouse park, and I noticed lots of fourth graders traipsing across downtown Sonora. And then I attended a museum meeting, and they mentioned that this was part of the fourth grade field trip that occurs during October. And it requires an amazing amount of coordination of the volunteers and the docents, and of course, all the elementary schools coming to downtown to enjoy this. They would like to honor Linda Clark and Sheila Wilkinson through a board certificate of recognition to these two individuals that would be presented at their volunteer dinner, which is occurring tomorrow. And I believe Supervisor Hanvelt will be attending that engagement.
Okay. So I have the certificates here. If I look for a motion.
So first a comment, because this is really important, and I was so glad to see it not under consent and on the regular agenda, because as Daniel said, for I think 6 days, you can see the majority of the fourth graders walking around Tuolumne County and getting an appreciation for the history of Tuolumne County. They talk about vocabulary, and they hear words that they don't hear anymore, and it's so important to understand where we came from. One of a house that we own is on that tour, and it is always a privilege to get to welcome the children and talk about the Sugg House. And these two ladies do an outstanding job in organizing it, and they bring a tremendous volunteer force together. And I'll be at this dinner also, and I will gladly make the motion when it's time.
Okay. Any other public comment? Supervisor Hanvelt?
Yeah, I want to just publicly thank all the people that volunteered there. Volunteering is how a lot of things happen in this county, and these things just don't happen with volunteers. And so thank you to the volunteers. But for the two ladies who took the leadership role, that's really above and beyond, because leading a bunch of volunteers is really tough duty. And it's a lot of work, and we rarely get to say thanks. So this is a great opportunity to say thank you to people who take leadership roles like this in our community.
The museum is a hidden secret, and a lot of the work that they do down there really goes unnoticed, and I thank you to bring this forward, because it does help open the eyes of all the good work that they do. With that, I have a motion by Supervisor Brennan. A second by Supervisor Hanvelt. Any public comment? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Passes 5-0. Thank you, Daniel. Item 8.
Consideration of reviewing the emergency action regarding the Buchanan Road hillside slide area, and determining whether or not there is to be a continued action.
Good morning. Kim McFarland, Assistant Director of Public Works, and Tanya Allen, Engineering Manager. So at the last meeting, your board directed staff to contact FHWA, the Federal Highways Administration, and request that they proceed with their proposed repair of a rock buttress. Our road crew's been in touch with FHWA's contractor, and they are tentatively scheduled to start this Thursday, if not Monday. In the meantime, the board and staff prepared a letter requesting support from Congressman McClintock with copies sent to Senators Feinstein and Harris. Both McClintock and Feinstein offices reached out to ask for additional information, and last week we received an email from McClintock's aide. It was an email forwarded from FHWA confirming their position that they will be holding to their stance that the county was a knowing partner in Buchanan and that they will not provide a warranty on their work.
Okay. Any board comments, questions?
Yeah, I just have to add the comment that it astounds me that the Federal Highway Administration does work and does not get a warranty from contractors. That's largely the circumstances surrounding our dilemma here. And I really think that needs to get changed, and I would like to see a letter from the board to the Federal Highway Administration with copies to all our legislative representatives and maybe to the president himself, suggesting that they need to change their ways.
Yeah, it seems like it's somewhat arrogant for a department to think that they're so perfect that they can design something that without failure and not guarantee it. Just doesn't make sense. But any other comments?
I think we need to, I'm not opposed to sending it to the president, but if we're going to send it to the president, we need to send it to the cabinet secretary as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so staff's going to help us draft a letter to send it to the people that we complain most to.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this one's for county council. What legal recourse do we have?
Well, I looked at the contract, and I did send an email that was attorney-client privileged, so I don't know if you
Is
want me
this
to...
a better conversation for a closed session?
Yes.
Can we do that?
At a future date, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other comment? Any other comment? Any public comment? Well, thank you for the update and all the good news.
Mr. Chairman,
Need to,
I think we need a motion 4/5 on whether we need to continue, and I move that we continue the project.
second.
All right, public comment. None. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Passes 5-0. Thank you. 9.
This is consideration of adopting a resolution declaring a portion of county property located at 18440 Stryker Court as surplus and authorize county staff to dispose of the property.
That's Frank.
Good morning. As your board is aware, in 2005, you authorized the purchase of a portion of a property along Tuolumne Road. It was 1844 Stryker Court. And the purpose of purchasing that property was to construct the ambulance administration, fire administration, and of course our EOC. A portion of that property remained vacant and still is vacant today, and we had always had plans to develop that in a future point in time. So right now, the portion of that is vacant. This past year, the county was contacted by Oxbow Investments, asking to see if the county would be willing to sell a small portion of that property off to them for an endeavor that they are working on. A closed session item was done in regards to this property, and at that time, you directed staff to initiate the process of selling this portion of the property. Warren Smith, your county surveyor, conducted a survey of the property and provided a map and a legal description. From that, then, your CRA division also reviewed the proposed property sale and found it to be consistent with all CEQA requirements and has it statutory exempt from CEQA review. An appraisal of the property was conducted, and an estimated value for the 9,326 square feet that we would be proposed to sell came in at an estimated amount of $6,994.50. Along with that, there was an easement that was being requested of the county, and the estimated value for that easement was $6,500 for a total estimated value of $13,494.50. So if your board deems this property to be surplus, the county will work on disposing of the property. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Any public comment? Yeah.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Roy, second by Supervisor Roderfer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Passes 5-0. Thank you. Next item.
Number 10 is consideration of approving a contract for sale of real property for a portion of 18440 Stryker Court, utility easement, and reserving the road right-of-way along Tuolumne Road to Oxbow Investment, Inc. in the amount of $13,494.50.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So the previous action you just took, we just declared the property, a portion of the property at 1844 Stryker Court as surplus property. And you had asked staff to please dispose of the property. It was determined that, again, the estimated value of this 9,326 square feet, the value of that was $6,994.50. And then the required utility easement that was requested from the county to be a value of $6,500 for a total value of $13,494.50. So let's talk about procedure, because this is not normally when we sell property, and we don't sell property very often in the county. But there is, according to the government code, a procedure for the county to take if the property is deemed low value, meaning anything under $25,000. And as I just mentioned, we're looking at, just for the sale price of the property, $13,494. So it fits in this category. So according to the government code, the county may sell, exchange, quitclaim, or convey that real property or interest therein in the manner and upon the terms and conditions approved by the Board of Supervisors without complying with the public bidding process. So with this, so the public understands there was no bidding process required of this property because of the value. The agreement before you for the sale of the property includes three very distinct components. One is the sale of the property, one is the utility easement, and the third one is reserving a 20-foot strip of land adjacent to the existing right-of-way line of Tuolumne Road for any future right-of-way widening or public utility purposes. So again, we had the purchase price of the property at $13,494.50. And with that also is $700 for the cost of the appraisal that was done for the property. So if your board approves the contract, county staff will open up an escrow and commence the sale of the property. According to the terms of the sales agreement, the escrow must be closed no later than March 31st, 2019. County Council has reviewed and approved the attached contract. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have. I also know that the potential buyers are in the audience if you have any questions.
Any questions from the board? Any public comment? All right, we'll bring it back.
Move on staff recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Rutherford, second by Supervisor Brennan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. 5-0. Thank you, Mo. Next item. It's all right.
Consideration of accepting the unanticipated revenue for the Safe Recruitment and Retention Grant in the amount of $127,824.31 and increase appropriations in the same amount for the fire department's personnel costs, fringe benefits, equipment, travel, and miscellaneous services and supplies line item.
All right.
Good morning. Andrew Murphy from the CAL FIRE Tuolumne County Fire Department. Again, before you this morning. In 2013, in July, the board approved August, the board approved the application for staffing for adequate fire and emergency response recruitment and retention grant. 11 months later, the board accepted the grant after it was awarded in an amount of $543,984. It was a 4-year grant that expired in mid-September of this year. Staff has been working to get a period of performance extension through FEMA, who's the administrator of the grant. And it was awarded in early October. The amount remaining unspent was nearly $128,000. The purpose of the recruitment and retention grant is to assist fire departments throughout the country that represent the interest of volunteer firefighters with the recruitment and retention of volunteers who are involved with or trained in the operations of firefighting and emergency response. The grants were intended to create a net increase in the number of trained, certified, and competent firefighters capable of safely responding to emergencies within the geographic response area. Through that period of time, the 4 years, the fire department with the assistance of the grant, we're able to recruit 42 new volunteer firefighters, and there's 15 currently awaiting training. So in that 4-year period, $415,159.69 was reimbursed to the county, and those costs covered such things as the stipends, the uniform allowance, the physicals the firefighters are required to get every year. The personal protective equipment for one volunteer is over $3,100. You can see how the amounts add up very quickly. We're also have an aggressive recruitment and retention campaign and prevention and education campaign. That includes movie theater, advertisements, and signs throughout the county. So the grant, it's $127,824.31 that remain unspent. As I mentioned, the extension was granted through January 31st of 2019. Those funds will be used for annual stipends, uniform stipends, station computer maintenance, station internet, an aggressive training schedule, and a new recruit firefighter academy, and to widen our media and advertising, prevention, education, outreach. And we'll, of course, continue every opportunity to expand the volunteer firefighting recruitment and resources throughout the county. The fiscal impact, this does not require any county matching funds, as it was already an approved grant with no matching funds initially. The person will, once approved, will use for the following budget line items: personnel costs, $73,966.53, fringe benefits of $3,000, equipment of $2,974.59, travel, and $15,624.76, which is travel and training, and miscellaneous service and supplies of $32,258.54. And it is the recommendation and request of staff that the board accept this unanticipated revenue.
Public comment? Before you leave, we went a number of years not getting hardly any recruitments for the volunteers, and I think this extra effort that you guys have done has really been great. And seeing that we have that many out there should make the public feel a lot better. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you.
I might add that that this program has been successful, and Station 58 is my favorite station, volunteer station, because it's all volunteer.
Next to your house?
No, it's not next to my house. It's up in Cedar Ridge, but I just want to comment that I think it is successful because they get a lot of their local community support, and I want to encourage people in the county to support their local firefighters.
Yeah, and I think this volunteer program, especially for some of the younger volunteers, actually becomes a pathway into a career, because I've seen a number of them actually then go through the college program and really go into fire science. And so, wonderful program, and fully support it.
All right. Any public comment for a motion?
Mr. Chairman, just a comment before the motion. I want to echo the comments. Pipeline's important for any kind of profession. That's your life's blood in the organization, and thank you very much for that. And I'll move on staff recommendation.
Second.
Yes. Motion by Supervisor Rutherford, second by Supervisor Hanvelt. All those in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0. Thank you. Next item.
This is consideration of adopting a resolution supporting Census 2020 efforts to ensure a complete count.
Mr. Richardson.
Yeah, good morning. Daniel Richardson with the County Administrator's Office. Appropriate we take this item on Election Day. Census 2020 is coming up shortly, and we've been preparing as a county for this event of making sure that every resident of this county is counted. the federal government is reaching out to state and local governments and in this case, the California State Association of Counties is encouraging each county to adopt a resolution stating our support of Census 2020 efforts. So far, the Community Resources Agency has been working with the federal government, sharing our geographic information system data to make sure our mapping is correct. As those of you who've been around a while understand that, the final product of this is, of course, the Board of Supervisor redistricting process that we engage in here with the board, and that includes our mapping. So it's nice that we start with the mapping, and in the end, we'll end with the mapping. What they are also wanting us to do as a county is consider establishing a complete count committee. We have not actually had a complete count committee, a formal one in the past. We've had a technical committee that is engaged and made sure that we're complying with all the census efforts, but it's something that we might want to consider doing this time. I do know that the state of California is making money available to counties and local governments for this complete count committee to make sure we reach out to all those difficult to count populations so that we can get an accurate count of everyone in this county. So that's one thing that you guys might want to consider establishing. It would be, of course, a staff effort to coordinate the various community members to come together and to reach out. So with that, there's a resolution for you to consider adopting today.
All right, any board questions?
Yeah, just one. I'm assuming that homeless are included in the census count.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
very much so.
Any other questions? Any public comment?
Miss,
Mr. Chairman, I'll move in favor of the resolution. This census count is a really important thing. RCRC had a session on that at their last annual meeting, and it determines a lot of funding for the county. So it's important we get it right.
and I'll second that motion if Supervisor Hanvelt will modify it. I think we should establish a complete count committee, and I would recommend as part of that motion that we direct staff to come back with a recommendation on who ought to be on that complete count committee, and with that, I'll second it.
Agreed.
And I agree to the addition.
Okay. Any public comment? Seeing none, bring it back to the board. We have a motion by Supervisor Hanvelt, second by Supervisor Rutherford. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Passes 5-0. Thank you. Okay. Do we want to do reports now, or do we want to go into closed session?
Get the closed session done.
Want to get closed session over? All right. Would the clerk please read our closed session items?
This is closed session, conference with legal counsel, initiation of litigation authority, government code section 549569D for one case, and conference with labor negotiators, Craig Pedro, Tracy Riggs, Ann Fremd, Kim Phipps, authority government code section 54957.6, and that's all bargaining units.
Okay. Any public comment on the closed session items? Do we expect to report anything out?
No.
No. Okay, so we'll probably be back at 11 for our 11 o'clock appointment. Thank you. when you read this, it really kind of pisses me off because we're wasting a lot of money right now.
Sure, you got the connections and stuff before.
All right, good afternoon. We're going to report out from closed session. Item 14, Supervisor Rutherford moved and Supervisor Hanvelt seconded. And by a vote of 5-0, the board approved the County of Tuolumne to initiate a lawsuit in the Superior Court by and through the Office of the County Council. Details of the action, including names of the parties, may be disclosed to the public upon request after the action is formally commenced, unless to do so would jeopardize the ability to serve a defendant or jeopardize settlement. On item 15, nothing to report. And will the clerk please read item 10 again?
This is to reconsider approving the contract with the sales of a real property for a portion of 18440 Stryker Court.
All right. Thank you, Board, for having me back again. What I wanted to do is clear up a clerical error on number 10. Let's review the numbers for the sale of that portion of 1884 Stryker Court. The property portion of the sale is $6,994.50. The easement that's being requested is $6,500. Then if we add in the cost of the appraisal that we're asking for to be reimbursed for is $700. So that leads the total cost of the sale of the property for Stryker Court, a portion of, is $14,194.50. So at this time, I request your board, if you could please re-vote on that matter and to clear up the clerical error on that for a total selling price of the $14,194.50.
Okay, Alicia, who made the motion on that? And we can do a review.
The original motion was Supervisor Rutherford and seconded by Supervisor Brennan.
I'll amend my motion for that amount.
All right, so any public comment? Amended motion by Supervisor Rutherford, second by Supervisor Brennan. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Clerk, please read our 11 o'clock appointment.
So this is a presentation on the status of the State of California 2016 National Disaster Resiliency Competition Project.
Great. I'll get started.
Right.
Hi, Maureen Frank, County Administrator's Office. Before I start the presentation today, along with my core team members, I just wanted the audience to know that there are handouts on the back table if you would like them in regards to this presentation. The handouts will also be posted on the county's website, along with the already posted is the feedstock analysis that will be talked about under the biomass pillar. So with that, I will get started. As your board is aware, the state of California, along with the U.S. Forest Service and the county, participated and submitted a Community and Watershed Resiliency Program grant application for consideration in the 2016 National Disaster Resiliency Competition, or as we refer to it as NDRC. We were lucky enough to be the 13th awardee in that grant application, and the county, the state was awarded $70 million, a little over $70 million. As you know, the competition included 3 pillars, projects or subject areas that we're working on. The first one is the forest and watershed health. Then the second one is the biomass facility wood project campus, or we call it the BUF, or the biomass utilization facility. And the third one is the Community Resiliency Center. As we started on the third phase of this project, one of the commitments the core team made to your board is that we wanted to come up come to you before you periodically and give you updates as far as where we are with the various pillars, what we've been doing, and ask if you had any questions. It was also another way for us to be able to talk to the community as a large about it's not just individual pillars, but what we want to accomplish in this. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Sue Naramore to open it up.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? So the Community and Watershed Resilience Program continues to move forward. Each of the pillar report outs will go into more detail, but as a quick sort of contextual overview, documentation and schedules for the CRC plans are moving forward well. U.S. Forest Service has started weed abatement for site prep in the forest. CAL FIRE has contacted all property owners for right of entry access for the fuel break work, and most are in favor. Environmental work on the rangeland and the fuel breaks is progressing, and the buff feedstock study, as you know, and will be presented later, is complete. As with many innovative programs, we have experienced some challenges as well. Those stakeholders participated meaningfully and in the development of the Community Watershed Resilience Program and collaborate with us as we implement the program. We continue to experience resistance from the John Muir Project, the Center for Biological Diversity, and the state chapter of the Sierra Club. We thoroughly and thoughtfully and collaboratively respond to each concern they raise. They informed us of the great gray owl nest, and the U.S. Forest Service set up a perimeter around that nest in order to make sure that there was no disturbance to that nest. We absolutely intend to continue working in that fashion as we find sensitive species in the area where work is planned. We've worked through some federal contracting issues with HUD that the state and its partners felt strongly about. HUD agreed with some of what we needed to change and not others, so we've had to find new ways of working together, which has been certainly challenging. We've all learned a lot, but we've gotten there. We also have survived the move of state entities to a new fiscal program. Unfortunately, we had to stop cutting checks for a while until that got ironed out. As with technology, it's usually 2 steps forward, 1 step back to get the kinks worked out. We have the kinks worked out, and funds requests are now being forwarded again. So the funding will begin to reflow. The next 18 months, we'll see the program operation going into high gear. We will finish the buff economic study and solidify the best path for moving forward with that pillar. We'll continue site prep and complete rangeland work, and if the weather holds out, get some saplings planted. The CRC will finish its environmental studies, and final decisions will be made on size, scope, and services for that pillar. And in closing, we are continually appreciative of the partnership with the county, of the partnership with everyone on this team, and we are all continuing to break new ground on this very important pilot grant. And HUD continues to call us about it, ask how it's going. We will be having a conversation with them, with the core team in January. They want to know how it's going and offer any assistance if possible. So we'll keep you posted on that meeting if it seems to be appropriate for a larger body to be involved. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Oh,
go ahead.
Okay.
I was just going to ask if there's any specific questions that the board has right now. No. Okay. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ashley Conrad-Seda. I'm here from the California Environmental Protection Agency. Just wanted to thank you again for your time on this project. And note that since we last came before you, the state has formed a forest management task force, and we really appreciate Randy's participation in that task force. And through the task force, we're supposed to be doing regional implementation for these kinds of innovative projects on the ground. And so from the governor's office and from the resources agency, there's a lot of look at Tuolumne County and what we're doing for this project and how we're trying to bring community, economic, and environmental sustainability and resiliency to the county. So, what we've been going through in this project is really serving as a model for other areas where we're looking at regional implementation, the feasibility studies, the way we're building partnerships on the ground, the partnership between the state, local, and federal levels. So it really is helping as we go through this process process and we have these sort of fits and starts and growing pains to get the project done, it will really serve as a model for other counties and other regions. So I just want to thank you for being part of that modeling process, for being part of the task force, and for being willing with all of your residents to take the time to go through this with us. I also want to note that, of course, it's Election Day, and we will see a transition in the governor's office in the next few months. And through that transition, we, as Louise Bedsworth and I, who are both appointed officials, are really making sure that the transition happens smoothly so that there continues to be a really heightened emphasis on this project. Everything about the NDRC is in all of our briefing papers. We're making sure that we continue to see the same level of attention from appointed members as we go forward too. So I just wanted to let you know that you will see continued involvement from the governor's office, that it may be Louise and me, but you may see other faces here. And no matter what, I think Louise and I, being part of this since the beginning and writing the project proposal, we really are committed to the success of the proposal and want to keep making these trips to see how it's going and look forward to cutting a ribbon with you all someday. So thank you.
Go ahead.
So what we would like to do at this point in time is take each of the three pillars and give your board a brief review of what's been going on since the last time we saw you. We are going to reserve most of the time for this presentation for the third pillar, the biomass utilization facility. So with that, I'll start off with the Community Resiliency Center. At any time for any of our presentations, please feel free to ask us questions or at any time we'll be happy to answer them. We have left room at the end of the presentation in case you have any other further questions. With that, I'll start with the Community Resiliency Center, probably the one that you're most familiar with. In the past 10 months, really what the activities and what we've been doing has mostly been in regards to property solicitation, reviews of those proposals that we received. As you know, we received 8 proposals. Your board then, after careful consideration and all the analysis that staff did, narrowed it down to 2 properties, one in Groveland, one in Tuolumne, in which you asked county staff to pursue further. The next step that county staff then did is we went out for an RFP. We selected Ascent Environmental and we've got them on board to start working on both the CEQA and NEPA process for both of those properties. Their work is currently in process. We expect them to be done with their environmental work in March. The other thing that county staff has been doing is working heavily in regards to the community. One of the things that we're doing is we're not just building a facility. What we're trying to do is build, it's not a community center, it's a resiliency center. And so going out and reaching out and working with partners on how they would like to use the facility, how they would like to partner with us, what kind of collaborative kind of arrangements can we do. So those are the things that county staff continues to look at and review. I know on the sheet, as you look at 10 months and you look at all the activities that are listed there, it doesn't seem like there's a heck of a lot of work or effort in them. What's not on that sheet is I can't even tell you the countless hours that's required because of this grant in report writing, time tracking, doing administrative other pieces and parts that are required of this grant. And as mentioned earlier, it's difficult at best because this is a pilot. The audience and the residents need to understand this is a pilot project, and so we're all trying to figure it out as we go. And so I think hopefully there is unfortunately a lot of work that's required of staff. I'm hoping if this is ever done again that some of this can be streamlined for any future people that apply for this type of grant. Looking forward, the next 6 months are real critical because when we get to April, that's the time in which your board decides if it's a go, no-go with the state of California. So in preparation of that meeting, if we want to move forward with the community resiliency centers, whether it's 1 or 2 or none, what we will be doing to prepare your board for that discussion is on your next board meeting will be consideration of an amendment to a contract with Leonakis Architects. We are going to be doing the schematic design work. We need that work both to be able to give your board enough information to really make an informed decision come April. And we also need some of the work that Line Office will be doing in order for the environmental assessments to be able to flesh out all the information that they need. We'll be continuing to work with community groups in regards to partnerships and seeing what community groups, again, how they want to use it, and how we can partner with them and help bring in some additional revenue to support the operations. Because it's not just building the facility, as we've been talking about all along, it's also the ongoing maintenance and operations. And as I said, staff will be continuing to work with Ascend, Environmental in regards to getting all the CEQA and NEPA documents completed, and that'll be done in March. So that's kind of where the CRC pillar has been and where we're going in the next 5 months.
So you guys haven't been doing anything, I can see.
Nothing.
Nothing at all.
Sloughing off as usual.
Any questions from the board?
Question.
Good.
So Mo, and just because Supervisor Hanfeld and I have been in a few of these conversations with HCD and really talking about the redundancies and really some of the problematic pieces with the administrative side of this.
Mm-hmm.
Where will the opportunity, I know you have been commenting as we've been moving through the process, but will there be a final report that really, again, if this is supposed to be a model going forward, what we have experienced with that piece of it makes it very unusable for other communities. And so will there be some after action report really highlighting these, or when will that be articulated so that I know you're trying to find some resolution as you're moving through the process, but clearly have it articulated, because
Right.
Again, if this is going to be a model, some of those pieces are really going to have some answers and some fixes.
Right. I think I'll let Sue answer that question from HCD.
Mm-hmm. So I can't agree more with the difficulty at which we have been sort of thrown into the unknown. I think the chances of HUD ever doing a contest like this again are slim and none. I think that we are currently now working on the state has received $212 million from HUD for disaster recovery for the October and December wildfires. Working with the disaster recovery funds on that grant, which is essentially the same money NDR came out of. They have, since NDR, changed the way that they do disaster recovery, which has parts of NDR in it, but it even goes further. I unfortunately cannot tell you they've made it any easier. What is really particularly difficult is that this project has HUD rules, and trying to connect that and make it usable for the Forest Service has been absolutely a challenge. There have been some really, really good reasons that the Forest Service has said, we can't do that, we won't do that, and HCD backs them on that, absolutely. At the same time, we have to remember that the Department of Housing and Urban Development is spending money in the forest, so we knew it was going to be a square peg round hole situation going in. I think from lessons learned, we're definitely at the department going to have to come up with how we run CDBG DR, which is essentially what these funds are. Whether or not there's an opportunity to ever partner with another federal partner in this again, I'm not sure that will present itself. After NDRC, we're seeing HUD talk more about, and in this particular Federal Register, and since late 2017, every Federal Register for DR from HUD has said you have to address housing and housing development first and foremost with these funds. So I'm not sure the kind of at work we're doing would be eligible. The other thing they are looking at, though, however, we have, of the $212 million, we have $88 million that they are earmarking for mitigation. The Federal Register has not come out on that money. We're getting this funding, this 212, in two separate tranches. Right now, we're finishing the unmet recovery needs study, really intensive for all the jurisdictions. We've got to have the action plan to HUD December 18th. We go for public comment out on Monday for that draft action plan. Then we have to wait and do this all over again for the next round of funding, which they're calling the mitigation funding, and nobody knows how they're going to program that money. Whether it's got to be matched for hazard mitigation funding through FEMA, or whether we're going to get individual projects from any entity in California, any jurisdiction in California that had a presidentially declared disaster from 15, 16, and 17 potentially are eligible for that $88 million in mitigation funding. And so we've got to figure out how they're going to, what HUD's going to require in terms of how we do the unmet needs to see who's eligible and who isn't. We have a lot of work ahead of us. So Supervisor Brennan's, I wish I could say that they were going to streamline this and make it easier. I know that from the department standpoint, we are, as we're going, we're writing policies and procedures. We're updating grant administration manuals so that people aren't reinventing the wheel as we go forward. But will it ever be easy? I can't, in good conscience, say that it will ever be easy. There's just too many rules and regulations. For that matter, every time we have HUD in the room, they're telling us about our CDBG program, that the only way to run it, if you want to know how to run CDBG, run it like CDBG DR, which is a whole other level. So we will continue the conversation with HUD. We continue to put in place as policies and procedures and hope that we can find a standardization that ultimately works for everyone. I would like to see it all become much more electronic and more easily accessed at the local level. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, I attended some of those meetings with HUD when they came out here. We knew this didn't fit in the you said square peg round hole, probably worse than that. But we knew that wasn't going to be easy. But it's the game.
Yeah.
It's the game. It's the rules. We have to play, and we have to have success. So I'm looking to hear, and I'm anxious to hear the success equation. And I've been nervous about that, and I've been nervous about whether we have enough urgency behind it. So I'm anxious to hear.
Okay. Any other questions?
All right, members of the board. My name is Elliot Vanderkolk. I work with the Sierra Nevada Conservancy. I'm sorry?
Push the button.
Oh. I think the button's on.
Is the light on?
Yes.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
So my name is Elliot Vanderkolk. I work with the Sierra Nevada Conservancy. I coordinate the Forest and Watershed Health Program and the Biomass Utilization Facility program at our agency. I'm joined here with Maria Benich from the Forest Service, who's no stranger to you all. Hold on, I'm just trying to let's go back up. Technical difficulties. I don't need that right now, so I'll just continue on. So as Sue mentioned, the last 6 or 8 months since I've been here last have been a little bit frustrating, honestly, in trying to solve some of those inconsistencies that she mentioned between HUD and the Forest Service procedures. I'm happy to say that we found a workable solution, and we're moving ahead with contracting. So as of right now, we have cleared the NEPA and CEQA environmental compliance on all forest and watershed health projects. So we're excited about that. They've all been cleared by the Housing and Community Development for funding and reimbursement. Contracting, we were hoping to be able to fit in some of the biomass removal and fuel reduction work this season. Unfortunately, as you all know, a lot of the fires crept into both this county and surrounding regions, which redirected a lot of Forest Service staff, including especially the contracting officers that oversee these contracts. So unfortunately, there was a setback there. Right now, we have contracts ready to go that we're working through to get out within this month to begin implementation as soon as weather allows in the spring. So to go through just each of these one by one. The Forest Service has contracts ready to go on about 4,400 acres of fuel reduction and biomass removal. That should go live hopefully this week, if not next. And that will be out to bid so we can get good rates and contracts lined up for spring and summer next year. They also have a reforestation site preparation contract on about 1,300 acres that's ready to go. So we'll have people out on the ground as early as we can, depending on what the winter does. And those are areas that we'll follow up with fuel reduction later the next summer, and then replanting in 2020. And that's not our full target, so we're going to be doing more in the next year for planting in 2021, et cetera. As Sue mentioned, the Forest Service has been busy treating noxious weeds in the rimfire area. So first they were out treating Himalayan blackberry, which is, if anyone's had to deal with that, they know how painful that is to deal with. They've also been taking advantage of a really great burn window, and just last week they've wrapped up about, I think it's about 1,100 acres of prescribed fire. And this is targeting Medusa Head on Jawbone Ridge, Jawbone Flat. So they're out of prescription right now. It's a little too dry right now, but hopefully they'll be able to get back next week or the week after if the conditions allow. So that's been great to see some great work to be done on the ground. On rangeland, we have a contract that's ready to go out for the first 3.5 miles of high priority fencing for rangeland infrastructure. And we have works occurring in 2 projects, so Project 1 and Project 2. Project 2, the environmental clearance has just been finished this week, so we're ready to go on all the projects for rangeland Project 2. And CAL FIRE has been working diligently, contacting landowners for our proposed fuel breaks network. And there's about 140 landowners that they've been in contact with, and I'm happy to report that over 85% have given initial approval to access the land, and hopefully we can get into final approval for implementation. Housing and Community Development has procured or made an award to Helix Environmental Planning to coordinate the environmental review process for, it's like many things with this grant, there's some overlapping levels there, both for HUD NEPA review as well as Forest Service BLM as well as CEQA. So they're going to be, we're meeting with them tomorrow to begin that process. So they'll be beginning by the end of the year. So we'll be spending next season doing biological surveys as needed, creating those environmental review documents for implementation to begin in 2020. And I'm pretty confident that we can get those field breaks completed shortly thereafter. So that's the primary update on the Forest and Watershed Health. And Maria's here to answer any other questions you all may have, or however I can be helpful.
Just a clarification, you won't be actually moving any project onto fuel breaks until 2020? It's going to be that far out, you think?
Potentially. It depends a little bit on how the environmental review goes, but typically they need to be doing that in the spring for the floristic surveys. So we'll see. We hope that we can start to do a similar thing that we're doing now, is let the contracts out in the fall, so we have really good prices and everything's built in the falling season.
All right, thank you. Randy?
Elliot, you said we had fires this year, and they diverted U.S. Forest Service personnel. So what's going to happen next year when we have fires? What's your plan B to make sure something happens? I'm really worried. We are late in this game. We should have been out there this year. I think we should have been out there last year. And so no excuses. How do we make it happen next year? Are we going to be able to hire outside people to do this, or do we have to rely on the very scarce resources of the U.S. Forest Service?
I think the good news, Randy, is that the holdup for us really, like we talked about with the board before, July 1st was really kind of our cutoff, because we know contracting officers is a real bottleneck for us, and their priorities in the summer is fire, period. So for us to get the contracts out now, that's really going to be beneficial, because the contracts will be awarded and we'll be moving forward. So that bottleneck will not exist. For implementation, we have hired people that are committed to do this work, period. They're not going to be on fires unless, of course, this forest is burning, which it won't be. So that is our commitment. We have the people, but what held us up this year was really our contracting officers in that piece, because once fires happen, when they started mid-July, sadly this year, went through pretty much September. After that, it's bare implementation, so that burn area emergency rehab that we do afterwards, again, they're letting contracts and awarding contracts within a month just to get that work done before winter. So getting our contracts out now, that's how we're going to solve that problem. We will not have that bottleneck. Those contracts will be awarded and moving forward.
So next year I should not expect to hear any excuses, right?
No excuses. What we'll have next year is pictures. Pictures of work on the ground.
Supervisor Brennan, you had something to say.
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that some of the rangeland improvements are actually on an allotment that my family owns, and I have not participated in any of those conversations.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? So, you know you have to get something done. Randy's going to be after you. That's just the way it's going to work.
I just want to thank you for two things. One is the work that you're doing on this, and two, for putting up with Randy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We know how it is, believe me. Okay,
So
go ahead.
We can move on to the biomass utilization facility pillar. So before I turn things over to Roy Anderson here from the Beck Group, I just want to give a brief overview of what we've been up to and where we're going. So as they're about to report, they've finished their feedstock supply analysis study. So that's the first of two reports that they have been contracted to complete. The second will be an economic feasibility study. So this is sort of the first filter, if you will, to understand what material is out there and what can be and at what prices. And I think just an initial, they'll go into more detail on it, but some initial thoughts from us are that, as we all know, there's a lot of material out in our forest. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. The challenge comes to at what cost, and that's going to always be, that's always sort of lingering over this. So when you see some of the numbers, that's some of the challenges, knowing we know there's a lot to be done, but there's challenges to getting it and the cost associated with that. So they're going to go into as they move in. They're moving into their next phase. The work has started already, and we're hoping that they'll be done by the end of this year with the economic feasibility study. So we're also it's sitting on my procurement staff's desk right now, but should be out tomorrow. Is a request for information that we're soliciting. So we hope to accomplish two things with this RFI, if you will. Is one, to educate potential developers or partners on this project about some of the eligibility criteria, what this opportunity is, some of the constraints that we know that they're going to have to operate under to make this funding source work. But also, we want to know who's tracking this and what they're looking at. So that will be, and especially to know some of the obstacles they see and what opportunity they see ahead of them. And we want to know that information so that we can help design how we're going to make our investment. So we have about $20 million to invest in this facility or facilities, and not everything is on the table at this point as long as it meets the terms of the grant. So we haven't made any decisions about what sort of technology or location or any of those design features at this point in time. So we're in conversations right now with our core team to come up with that funding mechanism and think about, and with the hope of transitioning from phase one, when this work is done, they'll be back in January or February to bring the final results of their study, and then we're going to pivot from there into phase two, where we're going to be opening for applications. So there'll be more to come on that, and I just want to, at that point, I'll just turn it over to Roy, and I can answer any questions after they're done, or we can sort of chime in when needed.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. Sorry. Yeah, no problem.
All right. My name is Roy Anderson. I'm vice president of the Beck Group. We're a consulting firm from Portland, Oregon, and we were selected to do the work for the Buff feasibility project. I'm joined with two members of the team here, Chris Trott from CT Bioenergy, who is a local person I'm sure you're all familiar with. Also have Bill Carlson with me from Carlson Small Power Consultants from Reading, who's also done a lot of work in the region. And happy to have them here. If you mind going to the second slide. I just want to start out real quickly to just give some context to kind of the approach that we took here. The arrow there is our consulting team moving through time. Back in April, we were down here and did a public meeting to kind of kick off our work. And since then, we completed the supply study. That's mostly what we're going to talk about today. But we've also started into phase two, where we're doing feasibility analysis of different kinds of businesses that could be located here to utilize biomass. And again, we'll talk a little bit about that today, but the focus is on the results of the supply study. And I think there'll be time at the end for questions. So if there's something really urgent that you want to ask as we're going along, feel free, but I do think there'll be time at the end. So you can go to the next slide. Also, before I really dive into the results, I want to just take a minute to talk about what we considered biomass as part of the study, so everybody's on the same page. And we tried to keep it simple and just say any part of a tree that's not used as a saw log was what we considered biomass. So that could be the top of the tree or the limbs, or if it's a tree that's, you know, been dead and standing in the woods but it's harvested and it's too decayed to use as a saw log, that would be biomass as well. And then as we got into it, I think we pretty quickly understood it became important to also include mill residues, egg and orchard wood, and urban wood, because that material is also used locally, and it affects kind of the supply and demand dynamics of biomass. So we also took into consideration those materials. So that's what we're talking about when we say biomass. I want to go to the, yeah. So now we're going to get into the results. And this map was put together as part of the study. The areas that are colored in are basically where there's a lot of tree cover, forested area. And we, to do the analysis, we had to settle on a site to use as the central gathering point for all the biomass. And so we selected the Camage Avenue industrial site in Sonora. And there's other areas that could be the location of a buff facility, but we really focused on that because it's about 15 miles closer to the forest than one other site that we were looking at down by Chinese Station. And whenever you're talking about biomass material, transportation cost is a critical factor. And that 15-mile difference translates to about a $5 or $6 a bone dry ton extra cost. And just to put that into context, like if you're looking at a facility that uses about 40,000 bone dry tons of material a year, that's around $200,000 to $250,000 a year difference just in transportation costs. So really the driving factor in us kind of focusing on that site was that it minimizes that transportation cost. But a few other things that we could say about kind of the area. We divided it into two zones. One is a 20-mile radius around that site. The other is a 40-mile radius. If you look at the whole area, there's about 1.2 million acres that has trees on it. Out of that, about a little over 800,000 acres is more heavily forested. And then when you account for areas that are a long ways away from a road, or they're a national park, or the slopes are too steep or whatever, you get down to an area that's really realistically productive forest land of just under 500,000 acres. So that's the land base that you'd be drawing from for a facility. And that one thing I want to point out about that, you can see this process of, oh, wow, there's 1.2 million acres of forest land out there, but then not all of that is really heavily forested, and then not all of that has trees that can be utilized. So you kind of screen out for all these different reasons, and you end up with kind of a net amount. And you'll see that again later on when we talk about the supply. You got to screen out what's the total of what's out there to what you can really actually utilize. Land is about 55% publicly owned, 18% industrial, and 27% small private. And there's quite a volume of standing trees, 50.7 million bone dry tons. About 10% of that is estimated to be standing dead trees. And if you've been out in the forest, it's just what you'd expect, about a third pine, a fair amount of incense cedar, and a bunch of true fir. So that's kind of the rundown on the supply area. Next, I want to talk about the volume that we found available. So this is the amount of material that we think is out there on an annual basis. And before I talk about the numbers, I want to just explain real quickly what bone dry tons is. So if a ton of wood comes in to a facility, it's weighed, but about what is typical is about half of that weight is water. And so, and the amount of water always kind of varies. So what they've done in the biomass industry is developed this unit of measure called bone dry tons, where you subtract out the weight of the water, and that way you're always talking about just the weight of the wood. So I wanted to point that out real quickly. That's what we're talking about when we talk about bone dry tons. So it's a more accurate way of just being able to really only express the wood fiber out there. But the rows in this table are the different sources of the feedstock that we looked at. We really focused on forest-derived feedstocks, but we also considered biomass from other sources, like I mentioned at the beginning. And then the first column on the left-hand side is the total amount that we think is out there. And you can see it's about 640,000 bone dry tons a year. But then from that total amount, there's some that, it's up forest roads the roads have curves that are too sharp for chip vans to get to, or it's too far from a road, or, it's just not cost effectively available. So the next column that's labeled practically available accounts for that. And so you can see, about 130,000 bone dry tons a year come off because of that. And then these 5 columns in the middle are what we think is already being used by existing facilities. And so that's where there's a big reduction in the amount that we think is available annually. And so you get to the column on the far right, and you end up with only about a little over 40,000 bone dry tons a year of material that we don't think is already being utilized. So we want to go to the next slide. I'm sorry, this one might be a little hard to read, but it comes straight out of our report. And in the preceding table, we showed 170,000 bone dry tons a year of forest-derived material. So this chart is just focused on that forest-derived material, and it breaks out all the different components of that, including standing dead trees, small diameter trees that are removed in thinnings, harvest residuals, logging slash. So all of those different rows are those different sources. And whether it comes from zone 1 or zone 2 in our supply radius, and whether it's private or publicly owned, and then the volume in each one of those. So it basically puts all of the fuel, the forest-derived fuel, in these little buckets, and for each one of those buckets, we have an estimated cost to get it to the facility. So, I won't go over it row by row because there's a ton of information there, but basically the lowest cost material is about $25 a bone dry ton delivered, and the highest cost material is about a little over $80 a bone dry ton. And the really important point about this, like we showed in the preceding slide, a lot of that material is already being used by existing facilities. So we think if a new facility comes in, it's going to have to pay a cost, getting up in the upper, not all the way at the high end of the range, but probably somewhere in the $50 to $60 a bone dry ton. Because the existing facilities, it only makes sense that they're using the lowest cost material already that's out there. So there's 2 things that it's worth some discussion about the results of the study. it seems like there's a lot of material out there when you start with 640,000 bone dry tons of material, and then at the end you only end up with what you think is about 40,000 bone dry tons that's available. But there's a wild card in all of this with the Pacific Ultra Power power plant in Chinese Station. Right now they're operating under a biomat contract, and so that means they can only use certain kinds of fuel, and in 2016, 60% of their fuel has to meet 2018, 60% of their fuel has to meet these requirements. In 2019, it goes up to 80%. And so nobody's totally sure if they're going to be able to meet that requirement. And if they do stay operating under that contract, then there's 105,000 bone dry tons a year that we had in there that they were using. But if they opt out of their contract, a lot of that material would become available. Or another whole scenario is Senate Bill 901 was recently passed. That seems like it's going to offer some relief to the bio-RAM power plants, where they could maybe opt in and out of the contract on a monthly basis. And so it seems like they would maybe operate where they have a high demand for forest-derived fuel for maybe 5 or 6 months a year, something like that. So again, part of that 105,000 bone dry tons that we estimated they're using could become available. So it's a hard thing to predict how that's all going to play out, but obviously, to the extent they're using or not using that 105,000 bone dry tons would have a lot of impact on how much material is available and what the cost is. So that's one thing. Another thing was, in this study, it's the first supply study that I've been involved in where there was enough standing dead trees that we actually considered that as part of the supply. Usually in a supply study, if there's standing dead trees, they're going to decay, and you just can't count on them as a long-term source of supply. But in this study, there's a big enough volume, and a lot of the trees are really large diameter, so we feel like they have a longer shelf life. We felt it was warranted to include them as part of the supply. But to do that, we tried to be real conservative in the approach that we took to estimating how much of that is really available on a year-to-year basis. So that's kind of what happened with the supply study. And again, we'll have time for questions at the end if people have questions about that. I want to transition now into talking about where we're headed with Phase 2. So once we had the supply study results, we said, okay, this is how much material is available. We know about how much it's going to cost and what types of material it is. So we started with a list of about 40 different types of possible businesses, and we did a screening to try and decrease that big universe of possible business types down to a few that makes sense for this location with these fuel or biomass supply conditions. And we used kind of a two-step process for that. One is we had some fatal flaws. If a business that we were looking at had one of those fatal flaws, we eliminated it from further consideration. But then we also had a secondary set of screens that are listed on this slide. And I know time is getting short, so I'm not going to go through all of them. But we ended up with kind of where we anticipate moving forward with an anchor type facility of about another biomass power plant that would operate under the biomat program. And under that program, that kind of facility can be anywhere between 3 and 5 megawatts. And that would serve as the anchor, and then there would be several potential co-located businesses there. And the ones that we're considering for that for right now are a small-scale sawmill, post and pole manufacturing, and manufacturing bundled firewood. So those would be the co-located businesses. And then another potential option is that, because of the ultra power facility at Chinese Station and the potential that there could be a new 3 to 5 megawatt facility built in the region, there's a need for more infrastructure for fuel supply, and so we'll investigate the feasibility of a whole log or a chipping grinding operation to supply fuel to potentially the ultra power facility and this new facility. So I'll stop right there for right now and open it up for questions.
Questions?
In your fatal flaw, you said you want to compete with existing businesses. Another biomass facility automatically competes with Pacific Ultra Power alone, and we have 2 biomass energy facilities. What other kinds of facilities have you looked at? There's other utilization opportunities than biomass energy. Besides, the POC doesn't exactly like biomass energy.
Yeah, so we did consider a bunch of other businesses, but with a limited amount of feedstock, it really, you can't build anything that's really big scale. So just a lot of things are off the table right away. And another thing that we felt was a fatal flaw, and I'll just give this as an example of what I'm talking about. A lot of people are interested in manufacturing wood pellets, and so if you build a facility here that would make wood pellets and would use raw material that comes from the forest, you would have to pay like $50 or $60 a bone dry ton for your raw material. A lot of other people that are already in the pellet business they have that business set up right near or attached to a sawmill, and they're getting the sawdust and shavings from the sawmill for their raw material at a lot lower cost than that. And so everybody's selling pellets into the same market, but a facility here would have a lot higher raw material cost because they're using material from the forest compared to the one that's getting material from the sawmill. So that was another fatal flaw, was if a business is operating where somebody else operating in a different location has a lot less expensive raw material costs. To answer the other part of your question, yes, it's true that a new facility could possibly compete with ultra power, but what we think is most likely to happen is that either they will opt out of their BioRam contract, and then they would most likely switch to using fuel more from the valley, ag and orchard derived fuel. And so that would ease some of the demand on forest derived, which is what you would have to have if you had a biomat plant. So you guys want to add anything to that?
Yeah, just to add one thing to it, that the fuel requirements for a bioram and a biomat plant are not identical. The biomat plant has a broader, it can accept fuel from simply sustainable forest management, which is not within the definition for the bioram. So you're not necessarily going head to head, and you could actually be creating on the site, which was one of the options that Roy talked about, more fuel than you're actually using, which the excess of that could go to. We're basically looking to access fuels that are not necessarily meet the definition of the bioram facilities.
Jerry?
Yeah, this is more of a commentary on a sentence that was in the report that just, it's something we talk about, and it was very simply put and reiterated that, and it's that difference about what is produced out there, that 642 and the 508. And it's just the material that's not readily or cost effectively available. That's not your challenge, but thank you for saying that, because it's the challenge that we continue to talk about when we talk about resiliency and how we get to a place where we can actually remove those materials, because those are the materials that are a catalyst for so many of these fire experiences. So, again, I just appreciate that it was written there. It's something that we know, we have been talking about and working actively on it. But again, to see it in print is, until we can get at some of those solutions, we'll continue to talk about how this is a problem.
Thanks for bringing that up. And I just want to commend this board and our players and partners within this county that are trying to tackle that very issue. So when we look at this report, it all is all looking backwards, right? So this is all information we have right now on costs and availability. And I think things like the Tuolumne County Master Stewardship Agreement and other things can lead us to potentially accessing more material that we haven't been able to before. And that is, and hopefully a facility like this can take advantage of those opportunities. So
That's our intention. All of the
hopefully
many
it's
partners.
a great opportunity for both to work together.
Okay, any other questions? Public comment, questions? All right, well, thank you for all the hard work. We're looking forward to getting to the end eventually and actually getting something done.
Hold it. I'm not sure we're done here. I thought there was more coming. I'd like to see your success schedule, Elliot. I'm very concerned about that. You and I have talked about it a number of times. I'm worried that we don't have margin in our schedule to get this thing done with some success. And I didn't realize we were effectively done, but I happen to know that other people, I can't divulge that because I've got confidentiality with them, but are looking at other alternatives and seem to have a solution to make it work. So I'm going to challenge you to be a little more creative in how you look at this problem. And we have, in my view, we haven't got a lot of time. We cannot afford not to spend this money. And to the best utilization of the people of Tuolumne County. And if we are going to be successful in setting a model up here that can be duplicated or copied elsewhere, we need to get with the program. And so I really am anxious to see that. I would like to see us be a little more creative than what I'm seeing. And so anyway, I just leave you with that, and we can talk about that the next time.
Sure, and I just want to bring up that these are initial results that they've presented here. Everything is still on the table as long as it meets the requirements of the grant and the goals. So by all means, anyone that is hopefully they're watching online or is in the audience, if they have ideas of what they want to see developed and how they want to do it, we're all ears. I think part of it is we need to show that things are feasible and possible before we move ahead into phase 2. So we're working through that, and I think our RFI is going to help inform that decision to figure out. We have a few options on how we can invest our money, be it through grants or through subsidized economic development loans and other ways we can use our funds. So hopefully we'll get a good idea of what are some of the obstacles that potential developers are seeing out there so that we can tailor our program to meet that directly. So I appreciate your continued involvement and participation.
I would just add that I didn't realize we were done with the presentation either, but I want to put an exclamation point on what Randy said, because the clock is ticking, we all know that, and we want to look at other opportunities. We cannot utilize these funds.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. Would you like to do reports before lunch? Okay, let's do reports. Supervisor Rotifer.
Reports.
Thank you, Clerk of the Board. First of all, I've only got one thing to report on. I would like to comment on briefly on my trip to Washington, D.C. At the invitation of the White House. Just a little backdrop on it. And actually, I think Supervisor Hanveld attended one of these. I think it was the one that Arizona was invited to. But this is the first time that any administration that I know of has ever invited local leaders. And the invitation was extended, I believe, to most, if not all, elected officials at both the city and the county level. They did this by groups of states. The visit that I participated in was comprised of Hawaii, Alaska, and California local officials. And there were probably, I'm guessing, 120 of us to 150 of us. There were county sheriffs, there were city mayors, council people, and also county supervisors, obviously. We met in a fairly, for 120 people, a fairly intimate setting. The room is probably twice as wide as this and about maybe half as deep as this one is. So you were pretty up close and personal to the speakers. We had, I believe it was 5, it may have been 6 cabinet level speakers, plus Kellyanne Conway, and obviously we had a guest appearance by President Trump himself. The cabinet speakers, with one exception, were the cabinet secretaries. These were not mid-level or even slightly above mid-level functionaries. They were the cabinet secretaries themselves. Unfortunately, the Secretary of Agriculture was out of town, so we got the Undersecretary. But Zinke was there, Chow was there. I can't remember them all, but we had the head of the Veterans Administration there, Veterans Affairs guy there. This was pretty impressive, and President Trump's comments, he started off with, the reason I invited you all here is because local government is where it's at, and I know that. And he was being sincere with that. The issues that were discussed that day, and the format pretty much was the secretaries gave a presentation and there was Q&A. Q&A was cut a little bit short because President Trump took up about 25 minutes that wasn't normally taken up, but that was well worth it. But it was a two-way dialogue, and the issues that were addressed there were the issues that we care about. It wasn't the issues that the White House was working. It wasn't a high-level federal overview of what's going on in D.C. It was what they're doing in D.C. to affect the things that we care about. The one takeaway that I had was that they had been very careful to select the topics that they were going to discuss, targeted to the states that were there. And, of course, California, I felt a little bit sorry for Alaska and Hawaii because most of the really big issues are California issues. They share some of them, obviously, but we got a lion's share of the attention. And my big takeaway was that this White House really does care about what's going on in our communities across this nation. And they're working hard to work our issues. Evidence of that, Secretary Zinke's visit out here to see our problems and everything associated with federal lands and water. So it was, for me, it was an experience of a lifetime. Thank you very much for approving my travel. I appreciate that very, very much. And I did bring back, I hope everybody got a copy, I brought back a list of the gateways into every single department. They have set up a director of intergovernmental affairs in the White House with, that's his list, that's his contact list of the key people in each department in the executive branch and who he calls when he has a problem. And he shared that list with everybody that was there, and I hope you all got a copy. If you didn't, please feel free to send me an email or a text or something, and I'll get you a copy. But again, thank you very much for the visit. It was a lifetime experience.
Good. Thank you, Supervisor Royce. Supervisor Hanvelt.
Mr. Chairman, a couple of things. One is I attended the Pacific Ultra Power event they had, and that's always enlightening. And if you haven't done that, I encourage you to do that. I attended the 2Care tour on a Thursday, and 2Care tour in the forest was really, I don't care how many times you see it, it's very enlightening. I also attended the 2Care Summit, and those were all informative things. I encourage the public next year when those come up to make sure they if they can, get on those. Two more things real quickly is one, I attended an ag workshop, educational workshop they had at Stryker Court. They're having another one in December. Unfortunately, it's right on top of ethics training, and can't miss ethics training because then you got to take it online. That's painful. But anyway, another one. So our ag department here is doing a great job of educating our ag community and the things they need, new NITIS laws. The final thing I want to comment is I had a telephone conversation with a high-level person in Department of Interior about our relationship with BLM and how to set up a cooperative agreement with them, and we'll be pursuing that. They want to work with us, so there's an opportunity to work with BLM here, and we'll be pursuing that in the near future.
Supervisor Brennan.
Yeah, Supervisor Hanfeld hit the 2Care tour and summit. So I'm going to just report on the Area 12 Agency on Aging. We had a meeting last Thursday, and Medicare Part D open enrollment began on October 15th, and it ends on December 7th. This is the first time that all of the counseling sites have been completely scheduled. And that's a tremendous piece for our seniors. So with that, in Tuolumne County on December 5th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Area 12 office on Standard Road, they're going to be doing a drop-in clinic. So if you were not able to get one of the appointment times, consider going up there on December 5th from 9 to 4 at the office on Standard Road.
County Council. CAO.
Just something real quick. I know you guys were all included on the email that Craig sent out about the transition in our office, so we have started that. And so over the coming months, he and I will continue to work together. There's some projects that he and I will work on together. If there's anything that you need from him or I, please just let me know, and I can schedule a time with you individually or with the two of us. And then he will be in and out of the office, and we will be also scheduling time with department heads as well. So just want to let everyone know that that has started, and if you need anything from us, just come on in or give me a call, and we'll schedule a time to meet.
All right, thank you. So my report, yesterday there was a huge crane on Ferretti Road removing trees for the culvert replacement, and this morning there was a culvert sitting in the middle of the road getting ready to be put in. So that Ford Construction is on it. They're moving quickly, and I think we're going to see it fixed sooner than later. Clerk, did you have a report?
Nothing to report.
Thank you. All right, with that, we'll be back at 1:30.
Couple more? 4 more meetings. I can handle that. I'm like floating, yeah, I know. I will miss you guys, though. I will miss you guys.
All right, call the Board of Supervisors meeting of November 6th back to order. Clerk, please read our first 1:30 appointment.
Public hearing to consider selecting food bank services, housing stabilization, both operated by the Amador Tuolumne Community Action Agency and Gibbs Castilla Heights Water Tank and Pump Station projects operated by the Tuolumne Utilities District for the county's 2018 Community Development Block Grant application.
Ms. Cox.
Yeah, good afternoon, Terry Cox, Cox Consulting. So I do have my usual sign-in sheet for everybody that's attending this public hearing, and written comments regarding the county's Community Development Block Grant Program can be addressed to the County Administrative Office. Now, this sign-in sheet is voluntary. Okay, so this public hearing initiates the selection of projects for the 2018 cycle of Community Development Block Grants, or CDBG, which is administered by the State Department of Housing and Community Development, or HCD. Now, even though this application will not actually be submitted until 2019, it's HUD's 2018 allocation of funds to the state. So we have the same array of activities that are eligible as we have had in the past, that is housing, public works, community facilities, public services, planning grants, and economic development, which can either be the large economic development projects that they call over-the-counter, which are like the Evergreen Lodge and Rush Creek, or the small business revolving loan fund they call the Enterprise Fund. Now, all of these activities, with the exception of the large economic development projects, are all put out in this one notice of funding availability. So the due date we expect to be the 5th of February, so we will come back to your board with a completed application in January for your review and possible approval. But in the meantime, we have brought a selection of projects for your consideration for possible inclusion in that application. Now, the main criteria for a competitive community development block grant application are that the activities primarily benefit lower income households, that all of the financing to complete the project be in place, whether it's all CDBG or if there are other funding sources, that those are committed. The other aspects, such as site control, need to be in place. The county needs to have expended at least 50% of all your open grants prior to applying. This year we only get to do 2 activities. In the past few years it's been 3. They do, however, let you count 2 public services as one activity. Planning grants can't exceed $100,000. The update in the notice of funding availability that was just released on Friday is that you can only do 1 study instead of 2 for that $100,000. All activities need to address a serious health and safety issue. And to the degree possible, they want a project to be shovel-ready. Now, we did do a call for projects back in August, and we did receive 5 responses. 3 of those were for public services. 1 for the ATCA Food Bank, 1 for ATCA's Housing Stabilization Program, and the 3rd was for Sierra Senior Providers for Meals on Wheels. We also received 2 public works applications. The first one was for the Jamestown Sanitary District as a match to their state revolving fund award for their wastewater treatment plant in Jamestown. And the second request was from the Tuolumne Utilities District for water tank and pumps that are in the Gibbs Cuesta Heights area. Now, the overall cap has been reduced from last year, and I did put the updated funding chart on the table there for you, which we have gotten as of Friday. So the cap last year per jurisdiction was $5 million. This year it's gone back to $3 million. So the individual activity cap for public works and for community facilities is $3 million instead of $5 million like it was last year. Otherwise, all the funding caps are the same as 2017. So the submittals were reviewed by the deputy county administrator and by me. Among the other criteria that we were looking at, besides what I've already mentioned, is that we did want to maximize the total grant application amount, that we wanted to continue to support at least 2 needed public services, and we wanted to submit the most competitive application that we could. So the original selection by the review committee was the food bank public service for $391,000, housing stabilization for $75,000, both operated by ATCA, and then the Jamestown Sanitary District wastewater treatment plant project. Now, both of the infrastructure projects are competitive projects. Jamestown was slightly more shovel-ready because they had completed their NEPA review, and for CDBG you have to do CEQA and NEPA. However, since then, Jamestown Sanitary District let us know that they did plan to go to bid in December because of the requirements of their contract for the state revolving fund, and CDBG requires that you have their pre-approval on their NEPA before you turn dirt or go to bid. And because of the timing, it basically precluded Jamestown from being able to get that approval and still meet their obligations under their state revolving fund award. So they have withdrawn, and so the committee is now recommending the TUD project for the Gibbs Cuesta Heights water tank and pump station. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
We, under Public Services, we did have a request from Sierra Senior Providers. Is there a reason that we didn't look at that?
Actually, we did look at it, and there is one other thing, another development that's as of Friday. The reason that the food bank and the housing stabilization activities were preferred over Meals on Wheels is that they have been through the competitive process before and been awarded funds. There is a slight advantage within the funding criteria for CDBG that says if you're a current activity funded under an open grant, you have a slight edge over ones that are not. However, there is one other development that in the past 3 or 4 years, CDBG has allowed jurisdictions to include what they call supplemental projects. So it's basically a budget line item for another non-rated activity, so it doesn't have to be competitive, and then you're able to funnel your program income reuse funds, that is the repayments off of your old housing and business loans, into those activities during the life of the grant. Now, we had been told that there would be no supplementals in the 2018 cycle because they were going to move back to our old system where we used the program income reuse plan, and they would let you retain some money locally, and it would operate more the way it used to 5 years ago. But to our surprise, they did include one supplemental activity as an option for the 2018 cycle. Now, because we haven't included that in the notice, since we were told that it wasn't going to be allowed, we will have to come back to your board with a notice public hearing to be able to discuss including a supplemental in this grant application. But that would be a way to reach the Meals on Wheels service.
I think she just answered my question.
Has changed, and it's difficult to follow. So
it's nearly impossible.
I think she just answered the question in terms of maximizing the amount of availability, and you will be doing that if you come.
Yes, that's correct.
Mine also. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Any public comment?
Good afternoon.
Excuse me. I'm going to open the public hearing. Go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon. Eric Johnson with TUD. I want to thank the board for considering our application, and I'm going to call Jamestown and thank them as well. We have just real briefly, I want to let you know we have kind of a long history with collaborating with county staff on these projects. We've had 3 different projects over the last few years. Just to run through these real quickly. In 2011, we had a CDBG grant for about $600,000 to do some work up in Big Hill. We stabilized a slope above a pond and lined the pond for a water treatment plant, benefited about 600 people. Now that benefits several thousand because it's connected to the Columbia Water Treatment Plant. In 2015, we had the Gibbs sewer project where we lined about 13,000 feet of sewer line and also benefited several thousand people. In 2015, which now carries over to this, or in 2018, excuse me, right now we're finishing up a water storage tank in Jamestown. It's a 1 million gallon tank, should be online in the next probably 3 to 4 weeks. So we have a history of being able to deliver these projects, and it's been a great collaboration. Thousands of people have benefited from this, and although the district doesn't depend on this money, it's become a real critical part of our capital improvement plan. So I'm just hopeful that you'll consider this project. We are shovel ready. We've done environmental. We will need to brush that up for the NEPA requirements for CDBG. Shouldn't be that hard. We do have site control and we do have plans. So like I said, we're thankful that Jamestown is backing out and that you're considering this project.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak?
Hello, Raj Rambob, Executive Director with ATCA. Just want to thank the board for consideration. Both of the programs that are being recommended are worthy and go to very basic needs, shelter and nutrition. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing. I'll bring it back to the board.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any more questions, but I would like to move in favor of the staff recommendation of this and thank them for all the good hard work.
Second. Yeah, a motion by Supervisor Hanvelt, second by Supervisor Rotifer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Passes 5-0. Thank you.
And we'll be back to the board about the supplemental as soon as possible.
All right. Thank you. Clerk, please read our second 1:30 appointment.
This is a public hearing to consider BK Estate Investment Properties LLC. It's an ordinance for a zone change and a notice of exemption.
Good afternoon. My name is Kim Balachi from the Community Resources Agency. The applicant for our project is BK Real Estate Investment Properties. The project today is Zone Change RZ 18-009 and Variance VAR 18-006. Here are the vision, mission, and value statements we hold ourselves to for all our projects at the Community Resources Agency. The project site is 3 acres located on the east side of Kewen Mill Road. Our applicant is requesting to relocate just under half an acre of open space zoning and allow a proposed single-family residence inside the 150-foot building setback. Variance 18-006 was approved by the Planning Commission on October 17, 2018. Ordinance for zone change 18-009 to allow the exchange of 21,518 square feet of open space zoning with the residential estate 3-acre minimum zoning. This is a map showing the proposed zoning exchange. Findings for zone change 18-009 are consistent with the general plan and are in accordance with the Tuolumne County Ordinance Code. Adjoining property owners were notified. 17 letters were sent, with 1 response received with the concern for building setback. On October 17th, 2018, the Planning Commission heard this project and approved variance 18-006 and recommended approval of zone change 18-009. Today's decision process for the Board of Supervisors for zone change RZ 18-009 will be to approve the project with modifications, deny the project, or send the project back to staff for additional study. Any questions?
Any questions? All right, it's a public hearing. Going to open up the public hearing. Anyone here wish to speak in favor of this project? Against? Neutral? Seeing no one, close the public hearing, bring it back to the board.
I got called on this issue on Saturday, and I went out on Sunday and walked the site, or around the site, I should say. And by the way, the person that called me was not the person that wrote the letter. Anyway, I understand the variance has been accepted. I'm curious what the argument was for the sake of the public, because I believe the original plan had 150-foot setback, something like that. And now, looking at the map and just scaling it, it only looks like it's 30 feet or so off of Q and Mill. That's pretty close. What was the argument there?
I think I may have a map of the building setback at 150 feet. The proposed single-family dwelling was to go 30 feet from the road edge instead of 150 feet.
Yeah, but what was the argument to do that? I mean, originally it was 150 feet was a standard setback
Yes.
off of Q and Mill for all homes or all building sites in the Comstock Ranch subdivision. And very frankly, I don't know how you act, other than this one where I happen to know where the access is, it's pretty hard to get at any of the others. They're pretty steep.
The original setback was 150 feet, but the proposed location for the driveway for this specific parcel was in such a location that the grading that would be needed to put the driveway in the existing easement that was proposed would have been significantly extensive, along with a drainage study that would have been needed to look at impacts to drainage onto Q and Mill. Therefore, the property owner looked at putting the house in a different location, and that's why the house is being proposed closer to Q and Mill than the original 150-foot setback. It's to reduce the impact from the construction of the driveway.
Okay, I understand.
Okay, any other questions? I believe that's in your district, Supervisor Hanveld, is that correct?
Okay, if I get this right, the recommendation of staff, which I'm going to go along with, is recommends approval of zone change RZ 18-009 based on findings A through D and approval of the variance.
No, the variance was approved by the Board of the
Yeah, the variance is approved by the board.
So it's just the zone change.
Okay.
Second.
All right, motion by Supervisor Hanveld, second by Supervisor Rotifer. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Passes 5-0. Thank you. Clerk, please read our next 1:30 appointment.
This is number 3, public hearing to consider Variani General Plan Amendment, ordinance for a zone change and a notice of exemption.
Good afternoon. Quincy Ailey, Assistant Director of the Community Resources Agency. I'm here this afternoon to present to you General Plan Amendment GPA 18-003 and Zone Change 18-005. Here are the mission, values, and vision of Tuolumne County, one of which is to encourage innovative problem solving. The project before you today is a resolution for GPA for a general plan land use designation for a 3-acre portion of a 16.7-acre portion of a project site to be amended from large lot residential to estate residential. Also ordinance for zone change RZ 18-005 to rezone the 3.0-acre portion from A10 to RE2 under Title 17 of the Tuolumne County Ordinance Code, as well as the notice of exemption for General Plan Amendment 18-003 and RZ 18-005. The project site is located outside of Tuolumne off Apple Colony Road. It's APN 62-210-05. The GPA and zone change are being requested to facilitate a lot line adjustment on the project site. From here you can see that there's proposed parcel A in the northwest corner of the property, and that is where the GPA and the zone change are being proposed. The remainder of the site will stay LR. This is an aerial of the project site. There's an existing single-family dwelling towards the southern portion of the property, as well as a pond in the eastern portion of the property. As required under state rules, we do consult with our Native American tribes, and that consultation did occur, and no comments were received back from any tribes that we were required to consult with on the general plan amendment. The findings for the GPA are before you here, as well as in your staff report, and the zone change as well. This project did go to the Planning Commission on October 17th, and it was recommended that the general plan amendment was to be approved, as well as the zone change. Today, before you, the Board of Supervisors may either approve the general plan amendment and zone change, approve the GPA and zone change with modifications, deny the GPA and zone change, or send the project back to staff for modifications. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions? Okay, I'm going to open up the public hearing. Anybody wish to speak in favor of this project?
Hi, John Feriani. This is some property that's my kids'. It was 2 8-acre parcels, and one of them wants more than the other one. And it does work out better, too. So I'm just here for any questions.
Questions? Didn't see any. Anybody against this project? Anybody neutral? All right, bring it back.
I would like to make a motion based on the recommendation to approve the general plan amendment GPA 18-003 based on A through D. Also to approve the zone change RZ 18-005 based on A through D as well.
Second.
Okay,
Miss anything?
We just need to close the public hearing.
I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Should I make him do that over again? All right.
Thank you.
Motion by Supervisor Royce, second by Supervisor Brennan. All those in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0. Thank you. All right, our last 1:30 appointment.
This is a public hearing to consider Townsend ordinance for zone change and a notice of determination.
Hello, I'm Natalie Rizzi, and I am the project planner for zone change RZ 18-010, and the applicant is Terry Townsend. Again, here are the vision, mission, and values of Tuolumne County. Project description. Zone change RZ 18-010 to rezone a 2.03 acre parcel from AE 37, which is exclusive agricultural 37 acre minimum, to RE2, which is residential estate 2 acre minimum, under Title 17 of the Tuolumne County Ordinance Code. The zone change is being requested to allow a shop and a guest house on the site, both of which are permitted uses in the RE2 zoning district. The zone change would bring the zoning district into conformance with the parcel size and the general plan designation. The project site is located at 19630 Confidence Mine Court, Assessor's Parcel Number 47-910-06. The general plan designation is estate residential. And here's a map of the project site and surrounding parcels. The proposed zoning is consistent with parcels to the north. Notices of the proposed project were sent to 11 adjoining property owners on August 29, 2018. The county received one response letter, which was in favor of the project. This project was considered by the Planning Commission at its regular meeting on October 3, 2018. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of zone change RZ 18-010. And here are the findings of the zone change application. In your decision process today, the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors may either approve the project with any modifications, deny the project, or send the project back to staff to work on. Are there any questions?
Any questions? All right, going to open up the public hearing. Anyone wish to speak in favor of this project?
Good afternoon, Terry Townsend. I'm the applicant and the owner of the property asking for the zone change, which will bring it into conformance with basically the parcel size and the adjoining neighborhood. I'm here for any questions that you may have.
Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone wish to speak against this project? Anyone neutral? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board.
No one's mine too? Perfect. Get this ready.
Can you put the findings up on there for Supervisor Royce?
I can't find my instructions. Sorry, guys.
You got 1 minute.
Siri doesn't know.
Oh, rats.
There we go. Perfect. You guys could have done this too, you know.
All you had to do is ask.
All right. I move approval of the rezone RD 18-010 based on findings 1.A through 1.D of the attached report.
Second.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Royce, second by Supervisor Hanvelt. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none. Passes 5-0. Looks like meeting adjourned with 1 minute to spare.
Stumbled a little, but we got it done.